Dawnlight, welcome to fertility, belysning, illumination from the ancestors, guiding your path today.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great-grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
Good morning and happy Money's Day to you. Today we talk about money, but our true conversation today is going to be kind of thinking about the aura or the Aurora of Freyr. Now Freyr, of course, being one of the Norse gods of the Vanir tribe. He brought these concepts together of harvest, of bringing to kind of fruition that which we had planted the seeds for a long time ago. So many things will come to fruition now and kind of come into our life. Before we get started today, as always, I want to give a huge shout out to all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed to us today. Kind of thinking about all of the things all of you who have visited us, whether it be on audio or video or wherever, even our social media. So thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't had a chance now is your time to go ahead and hit that like, follow, subscribe button. Make sure you ring the bell so that you're able to be notified each and every morning as we bring to our podcast to you via whatever the networks. And speaking of networks, I want to give a huge shout out this morning to my friends and family whom I adore at New Reality TV. NewRealityTV.com is a streaming channel dedicated to a plethora of perspectives about our spiritual growth and our spiritual path, giving us nudges here and there, and hopefully finding something that resonates within our soul that can help us to grow, to evolve. I also want to give a huge shout out to my new family, my new associated kin, as it were, is that at Feel the Good and Find the Good. So make sure to check out our website there. You can find the links for it, and you can bring it into your life. Help us to find the good in everything and everywhere. So check them out as well. Today is sponsored by Blackout-Coffee. From the first light of dawn to the long watch of midnight, warriors of every age have sought the fire of the being. Blackout-Coffee forges that strength in every cup. Bold, unyielding, crafted from those who refuse to fade. Check out their link at our website, akumedia.akulfhednar.com/sponsors, and there you can check out all of the links to all of those who have agreed to sponsor and affiliate themselves with our show. So I want to give a huge shout out to all of them. So thank you so much for being a part of this family. So today we're talking about Freyr, and Freyr, of course, meant many things to many different people. Well, the first thing, let's talk about where he comes from. Freyr, of course, being probably one of the chief gods among the Vanir, the son of Njord, and certainly the brother of Freya. Freyr represented the harvest. He represented bringing in that which we had sown seeds for. Remember, for us to actually receive a harvest, we have to put in the seeds. We have to put in the time. So we have to plant the seeds. We have to tend to the seeds. We have to pray and help guide the weather, help to protect them as they're young until they can come to fruition, very much like we would do for our parenting, right? So we're going to plant those seeds as the children grow and they can understand different concepts, and we're going to kind of plant those seeds as they grow. And we're going to protect them from severe weather, right? We're going to kind of try to take care of them. We're going to make sure they have water and nourishment along their growth until ultimately reaching really that place where they're able to be self-sustaining, right? And so they produce a crop. In very much the same way, we have to think about ourselves as well. We kind of have to put that same vernacular, that same language into ourselves. So we are going to learn, we're going to remember, illuminate ourselves. We're going to educate, we're going to inform, we're going to bring in that sensory input of intellect. And we're going to foster that into a place called wisdom. So we've got a long place to go there, right? And so we've got kind of a journey that we will take from the time we plant the seeds through to that place at which we can harvest. And we're actually drawing back this thing called wisdom. Now, remember, along the way, as we've spoken before, wisdom becomes imagination, and imagination then feeds into our sensory input. So as we're seeing the world, part of what we see is this thing called imagination. Imagination simply invokes emotional connection, and it invokes a certain level of imagery that may or may not be actually included in the sensory input. So kind of be caution. I guess we should exercise some level of caution to what we really see. Taking time to kind of let that process and consider how much of what we just saw, how much of what we just input via our sensory input was real versus what did we imagine. The question is always not as much. I mean, we obviously don't need to question everything. But those things, those thoughts, those concepts, those things that we experience, that has the potential, and most often than not, will invoke some change within our virtues, values, and beliefs. For those of you who are new to the show, the virtues, values, and beliefs are essentially at the bottom of your well of the self. The well of the self, of course, is where my ancestors have defined a methodology at which we interpret everything we see and hear and taste and touch and feel through a well, at the bottom of which we're going to create the biochemistry of our physical form. This biochemistry then permeates through the body, ultimately arriving at what my ancestors would define as the horn of feeling. The horn of feeling, of course, then converts the biochemistry back into bioelectricity. Now, this is the human condition. This is the physical lifetime. This is what it's all about, is creating this biochemistry. We can't do this. We can't create biochemistry as a spirit, right? We can't do that. Spirits don't have the physical form, this muscle tissue, this whatever tissues that you may have, to create the biochemistry and, just as importantly, convert that biochemistry back to bioenergy. All right? Our spirits, our spiritual selves, and the spirits of the spiritual realm all manage, manipulate, and modify bioenergy, but they can't create, manipulate, modify, do anything with biochemistry. They don't have any. You need this physical form, this physical lifetime, to create the biochemistry. So this is why we're really here, is to create biochemistry, to create an interpretation within the brain of emotion. Biochemistry is emotion, right? So it is defined as our interpretation of the energy. Now, for those of you who are new and haven't heard the whole process, there is a process of how we interpret, our physical minds, interpret all of our sensory input. Everything we see, hear, touch, taste, smell, everything goes through a process through our physical form that ultimately ends up in our memories. Our memories are then that place within our mind that is the interactivity between our spiritual self and our physical self. The two beings communicate at our memories. Okay? So, as we create memories in our physical experience of life, those experiences are then stored in our memory, which then our spiritual entity interacts with, gains those experiences from our memory, and produces them in a type of broadcast to the spiritual realm. That spiritual realm then absorbs that energy or not. If it's relevant, they absorb it. If it's not, it's not. Now, remember the big goal, if you will, of the spiritual realm entities gathering additional experiences from memories, from different memories, is to have a larger perspective. Remember, we talked about when we encounter a particular challenge or a particular event in our lives, we're seeing it from a very limited perspective. Now, obviously, as we learn to widen our view and change our perspective about that particular event or occurrence, as we change our perspective, we're given a bigger kind of more broad perspective, a bigger view of this particular thing. Well, the same thing is applying in the spiritual realm. They're trying to find a larger perspective of a particular event or experience or perspective that they may have had. So I'm always reminded, as my ancestors who have spoken of a vision or given me a vision, of looking at each experience / event in our lives as we would a mud puddle or a puddle on the ground after a rain. And as we approach the puddle, we see the puddle from a very limited perspective. And it could be a small puddle, but nonetheless, even if it's a smaller puddle, we're looking at the puddle from a particular angle. Right? So we see the reflection off the water surface. You could see, what's above us. And if you imagine this puddle, and we had people standing around this puddle, surrounding this puddle, looking at it, figuring out what it is and what they can see. Each of those people look at the puddle from a different perspective. It may be microscopic. It may be just a 1/100th of a degree difference, but it's different. It's changing our perspective. And if we were to, instead of just knowing that this is the way and this is the only way to look at this puddle, instead of that mentality, we said, okay, let me step around the puddle and look at the puddle from all these different perspectives, seeing it from a different way. We would see the puddle differently, and different is okay. Now, take it one step further and turn to the person on either side of you. What do you see in the puddle? You've seen the puddle from where they're standing. You know what you see, but now we're going to ask them, and we're not only gaining a different perspective, we're gaining their interpretation of that different perspective. Well, the gods, including Freyr, want to see the puddle from all these different perspectives, because they know one view is not enough. For us to truly understand and be one with the puddle, we have to kind of look at it from all angles. I'm always reminded, one of the analogies I gave to my ancestors as we spoke, as I was trying to introduce, introduce is a good way, introduce them to this idea of a car. Yeah, that was a unique experience. But I was trying to explain to them, when we buy a car, well, we don't just go into a store, a car store, and go, yep, that's it, that's the one, because we saw it from one angle. Most often than not, what we will do is we'll walk around the car, make sure there's no dents on the other side, make sure the trunk is all there, or the bed of the truck, if that's what we're buying. We're going to kind of look at the tires. We're going to look underneath the truck. We're going to probably open the cab and look in the driver's seat and see how all of the interior looks, right? We're changing our perspective. We're looking at it from a different way. No different than our lives. No different than those challenges that face us each and every day. Each and every day, we will be challenged, and our perspectives will be challenged. At which point, we really have to kind of go, well, let me look at this from a different point of view, from a different emotional angle, include different energies and different just different ways of looking at this particular challenge, event, or experience. Will kind of give us a bigger view, and it'll help us to navigate through the ways we want to go. Okay, so as always at 18 after, we're going to include our runes in this morning's. So we're going to root around. We're going to we're going to focus on our fingertips. And what we're feeling is there will become a rune at which we are drawn to. Okay? And we're going to pull that rune out and